But yeah, one of the things I try to tell people is anytime you see set reviews, whether it's me or anybody else, you're going to probably hear 5 or 6 different opinions sometimes about one card. And none of us know if we're going to be right. We're all making predictions without even knowing what the metagame is going to look like. Because even if we go through this set and each of us pick a different 20 cards that are good, they can't all be good and playable, right? Especially now in Standard, because we're just going to add on to 2 other years of cards. So a deck's not, let's say we pick 5 good red cards. The red decks aren't automatically going to play all 5 of those new cards because some of the other cards are still good. They might pick 1 or 2. They might shift their deck a certain way. Now, it's possible you will see all of those cards in some red deck, but not all those cards are going to be adopted by every deck because there's just not room. But yeah, for those of you that are new, just joining us, we have been covering all the cards from Eldraine, all the rares and mythics. We've already done white and black and blue. We are on to the red cards. And if you would like to share any comments, you have any crazy ideas that I didn't mention, feel free to post them in the comments down below. If you are live and watching this, if there's an uncommon or something that you wanted to see me talk about, let me know. I'll see if I can find it if we're still in that color, and we will talk about it. Otherwise, remember to like the video, like the stream. That helps out so much. And, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because I put up stuff literally every single day. And buy some merchandise. Become a YouTube member. There's actually benefits. You should check it out. All right. So our first rare from this set is Charming Scoundrel. Colorless and a red for a 1/1 with haste. When Charming Scoundrel enters the battlefield, it's also a human rogue, by the way. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. You can discard, then draw, create a treasure, create a wicked token attached to target creature you control. I believe wicked is it gets +1, or when it attacks, it gets +1/+1 if its power's 3 or less. So that's actually pretty sweet. Also, thank you for a new member for joining there, Shannon Bailey. That is or is that you? Is that one of those? Oh, it's the, oh yeah, you're playing with the VR thing in your picture. That's cool. You're live recording for video oh, that's cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a turn 1, 3/2 Warlock. Effectively, right? Well, it's a 2-mana 1/1, which is actually pretty cool with haste. And yeah, I don't know, like this is where we were just talking about, right? Like, where do red cards want to play this, right? Or what decks want this? Because you get to rummage, right? You draw and discard. That's cool. Or discard, then draw. You get to create a treasure, and there's going to be a lot of decks that care about treasure or tokens or whatever, artifacts. But you also get to put a roll on something, right? So this is a card that could fit into a few different decks, depending on what you're trying to do. But I don't know if regular mono red actually wants this. Now, we have played a couple of decks that were Gruul and Jund that cared about haste, and this does have haste, so it could fit into those decks while also giving you some other really cool ability. So this is actually pretty neat. So it's a cool card. I don't know how good it is, but I think it's actually very playable, just maybe not in the decks we're immediately thinking it would be. Shannon also says, hi, thanks for the set review. I'm doing the pre-release next week. That is awesome. I hope everybody has fun at the pre-release next week. Also, I think sometime next week I'm going to have a video coming out that gives you 6 tips to prepare for the pre-release in case you've never been to one, to help you out with that as well, because I just stay busy apparently. Decadent Dragon, 2 colorless, red, 4/4 dragon, flying trample. Whenever Decadent Dragon attacks, create a treasure token. Okay, all right, we already know that's good. And then it has a black instant adventure called Expensive Taste, 2 colorless and a black. Exile the top 2 cards of your library of target opponent's library. Face down. You can look at those and play those as long as they remained exiled. Okay, so this is interesting, right? Because the adventure part is an instant, and we have versions of this card already, and people like playing this, right? They're usually blue or blue-black or whatever, but people like this, right? You get to exile the top 2 cards of your opponent's library, and then you get to play them. Or the current one is, it has flashback, but you choose one of the top 2 or 3, and you could flash it back and do it again, right? The thing is, you do have to have the right color mana to cast it, though, on this. However, the dragon does make treasure to allow you to play those cards. This has trample. We know getting to attack and making treasure is good. Again, if you have a deck that just cares about treasure, this fits that whole theme, generating more treasure. I'm into this card. This card's just solid, really, by itself. Like, if you have nothing else to do and it's in your hand on turn 3, right? Let's say you're leaving up mana to I don't know, lightning strike something or go for the throat. Your opponent doesn't give you a target or whatever on 3, and you're just like, okay, cool. During your end step, I just want to look at 2 of your cards. And then on your turn, if you have the ability to play one, maybe you do. If not, you're like, great, I'm just going to make a 4/4 dragon. Like, the fact that it costs 3 for the adventure and then 4 for the dragon is perfect, right? So you can play both of those on time if you don't need to do anything else. Or you just straight up play the dragon and then you have a sizable card that's generating value every time you attack. Like, this is actually really cool. This is a good card. And if you play a dragon deck or whatever, this fits perfectly into that because your 4/4 now lets you play a 6/6, right? And we know a lot of dragons are 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So you play your 4/4, you attack, you play a land, now you have 6, now you can play an even bigger dragon. So even that works in Commander. Yeah, just a good card. I'm digging that. Let's see what else Red has to offer. Oh, this one I do know. We were just talking about, okay, so Food Fight. Colorless and a red, enchantment. Artifacts you control have pay 2, sacrifice this artifact. It deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of permanents named Food Fight you control. The thing about this I found interesting was, what are we trampling over with the other dragon? Fairies. There's going to be a lot of fairies with 1 and 2 toughness. So we are definitely trampling over fairies. Possibly spirit tokens as well. But it doesn't care, this card doesn't care about just food, right? It's called Food Fight, but it doesn't care about just food tokens. So if you have a lot of things that are generating treasure, like the dragon and the other rogue we just saw or whatever, then when this comes out, cool, during your opponent's end step, you're like, fire one of these off, shoot you for 2, shoot you for 2, shoot you for 2, right? If you have multiples of these, then it's awesome, right? Because now every one of them is 2 damage. So like this is a cool thing. I like this. You could actually, in a perfect world, you know, Magic Christmas Land probably would never work. But you could generate a deck that's a red-based control deck that's playing food fights, things that make tokens and make treasure, and maybe planeswalkers. And then you're using some planeswalker tokens and food fight as your win conditions or whatever. You know, like, there's some weird things you could probably do with this card. I'm digging it. It's pretty cool. And I like the flavor of it for the set, which is kind of cool. And it's got like a dwarf just flying over a cafeteria table at a goblin for some reason, which isn't really a food fight. He's really kind of still going to stick him in the face with this, like, this weird horn looking thing, but still. Paul has been a member for 9 months and says, happy Thursday, PD. All's well. It is well right now. We are talking about new cards and having a blast. And people keep coming through for the stream, and I appreciate it, because this was definitely unscheduled. All right, so we got Godric, Cloaked Reveler. A very regal-looking card. This is some cool artwork, actually. He's 1 colorless, red, human noble, legend, obviously, 3/3 with haste. So far, so good. As long as 2 or more non-land permanents entered the battlefield under your control this turn, this card is a dragon with base power 4/4 flying, and dragons you control get 1/1 until, or 1. You can pay a red and give it +1/+0 to end a turn. So fire breathing, basically. Yeah. This card's solid. Again, if you have something that cares about making treasure, you're making 1/1 tokens, you're doing all this stuff. Yeah, this card's just good. The other thing I just realized too about this, it's not a sorcery or anything like that. So you could do it during, like, if you had a way to instant speed generate treasure or flash in 2 tokens or whatever, you could turn this defensively into a 4/4. Or you could attack first and then flash something in and make 2 things. Or, because we just saw the dragon, right? Like, you played a creature, you attack with it and your dragon makes a treasure, now you've had 2 things come into play, and now you have 2 4/4 dragons. And you can now blow up the treasure to make each of those dragons have +1/+0, right? Yeah, because it's dragons you control. It's not even like this card gets. So yeah, this has some synergy with a few things in the set already. Like, this card's kind of cheeky good. I kind of like this. And we just put up a deck today that played like Samut and Squee and the Pugilist, or cards that are attacking and also making tokens, right? Or even Urabrass Forge guarantees you a token, and then your new thing's going to automatically be a thing, so that counts as 2, right? There's a lot of ways you could get this into a dragon, into a 4/4 very easily. And it starts out as a 3/3, which is not like the easiest thing to kill. So, yeah, I'm into this card. This card's cool. This card cool. I like it. I like it. Let's see what else red provides. What is this guy? Oh, I saw a picture of this. I didn't know what it was. So Kellen the Fey blooded. 2 colorless and a red. Human fairy 2/2. Double strike. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellen the Fey blooded. It has a white sorcery adventure, birthright boon for a colorless and a white. Search your library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I'm a little torn on this card because my first thought is it's actually okay on its own because you have stuff like all the rolls putting things on, and rolls count as auras. Now, granted, you can only have one aura or one roll at a time on this card, but even giving all your other creatures +1/+0 and this card itself having double strike and a bunch of the rolls already give it +1/+1. So you could have a 3/3 double striker and all your other stuff can be +1 very easily. So a pretty reasonable card. But the sorcery part of it on the adventure actually kind of says, hey, I sort of want to play more auras and equipments because my cards get benefited by me having those. So, because like on turn 2, you would use it to go find whatever, right? A sword or whatever you're going to go find. But then you play this on 3, and then you don't really get to put the thing you search for on it until turn 4. That feels a little bit slow for a deck that cares about all my other creatures getting +1/+1 or having double strike or something like that, right? So I almost feel like where this might excel, like I said, is a deck that is just cool having this card and happens to have rolls or 1 or 2 equipment or 1 or 2 aura, something like that, and be fine. I don't know how many. Now, let me back that up a second. There is, because we're not rotating standard, there is a possibility of playing stuff like Rabid Battery is a thing you could play, and that's easy to just equip onto something. There's the swords, right, that give double strike, but it already has double strike. But you know, if you just need to equip something, so like, yeah, maybe it's a thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I think a lot of people are excited about this. I'm not there, and I feel like I'm missing something if everybody else is going to be excited about it, but I'm not. Again, Commander, probably great, right? Because you already have a bunch of commanders that care about equipment. But yeah, I don't know. For 60 card, I'm a little light on that one, if you will. Ogre Chitterlord, that is a name. 4 colorless, red for a 6/5 Ogre Warrior with Menace. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens that can't block. Then if you control 5 or more rats, each rat you control gets +2/+0. Ah, man. This to me just comes down to how good are rats in standard, right? This is one of those ones that's hard to judge because I don't think we know enough about how we're all going to be using cards in the set yet, what the format's going to look like. Do we want to commit a board of a bunch of just rats that can't block against mono red, mono black right now? Hell, even mono white, right? Is that a good thing? And it's 6 mana. There's no way to make it cheaper without some outside trickery, but then that would mean your deck would have to have less things that care about rats. Man, it's cool for what it's trying to do, but this feels almost like one of those times that it's on theme, but probably just going to be best in limited. Because it's 6 mana. I mean, I don't know, because like, if for some reason your opponent hasn't been killing that many of your rats over the previous like 4 turns or something, and then you play this, I mean, having all your rats be +2/+0 is a real thing. But if they have removal, have they just been sitting on it for some big thing to show up? Maybe your Rat Lord and this guy because they don't need to waste it on 1/1s, right? So like, I don't think I'm excited about this one. I just feel like it's 6 mana. I almost want it to do more. And that's weird to say because it is giving you 2 rats and then you attack and get 2 rats. But like, I don't know. It's hard for me to get there. And I honestly kind of hope I lose to it to make me eat my words. What am I drinking? It is tea, actually. Raging Battle Mouse. That is a very angry looking mouse now that I'm looking at the artwork. Colorless and a red, 2/1 mouse, obviously. It's actually interesting that they made this a mouse and not a rat. when you have other stuff that cares about rats particularly. I hate when that happens. Like, we had a while back where there was like dogs and hounds, and it was like, why are they not all dogs or not all hounds, right? It's weird to just be like, well, we just don't want this card to get the bonus from something or whatever, so we're just going to give it a different, similar creature type, but not the same. Like, I hate that. Why is this not just a rat? Like, let's just have rats, and then if somebody's building a rat deck, they get a benefit of a cool other sweet cards. It doesn't make a lot of sense to just not allow it to be a rat. But whatever, that's just a side rant. It's a 2/1 for 2. The second spell you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. And then at the beginning of your combat on your turn, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield, target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Are second spell decks any good right now? I feel like we've had a bunch of those that care about you casting your second thing, or when the second spell gets cast or whatever, and those just haven't gone anywhere in a long time. I mean, if there's enough in Eldraine to make it worth it, then this card's probably stellar. Otherwise, it's just a 2/1 for 2, and you'll get to give something +1/+1 every turn or every other turn or whatever. It's also weird that the second spell you cast each turn costs 1 less. So you have to try to play some. I don't think I'm excited about this card. The more I'm thinking about it, I'm almost kind of mad this card's a rare. Right? I think people are going to open this card and just not be excited about it. And on top of that, we decided to not make it a rat. Like, I don't know why it's not a rat, because then it would at least have some extra value, because then being in a rat deck and extra rats coming into play would allow this celebration to trigger more often and possibly matter more, which would be great. But with it being a mouse, I'm not feeling it. I'm not there. Isn't this fine in a prowess deck? Like, maybe? But the prowess decks aren't even playing a lot of spells with colorless mana in them, right? They're playing all the cheap spells anyway. Their stuff all costs 1 or 2. And they'd rather play cards like the third path guy, right? That when you play a thing, you make a 1/1 artifact soldier. They're playing Monastery Swiftspear, that when you make another one, you know, they're playing the 2/2 prowess thing that you can flip to the backside and has double prowess and ward, right? They're playing all that stuff that are all just better than this card. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no reason for this not to be a rat, and at least give it a shot that people might want to play with it. It's very weird to me. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm out. All right, we got another dragon in this set. The Realm Scorcher Hellkite. 4 colorless, red, for a 4/6 dragon. Has bargain, where you can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token when you cast it. It has flying. It has haste. When it enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, add 4 mana in any combination of colors. And then you can play a colorless and a red. This deals 1 damage to any target. So you can play this for 6, sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. Then you get 4 mana back immediately that you could either deal 2 damage to something or just cast something else. I don't even know if that's good enough. Like, that's a lot of extra mana you're getting. And I'm still looking at this card and going on, like, turn 6, is that good enough? Like, this is one of those things where the numbers matter on the card, right? Because you sort of look and go, if this was a 5/6, how much better is it than being a 4/6? Right? Like, it's literally 1 point of damage difference. But it's like, that feels so much more significant. Or if this is a 5/5 versus a 4/6. Now, admittedly, by being a 4/6, it doesn't get hit by stuff like Nahiri's, Warcrafting, the 3 mana deal 5 spells or whatever, like any of those. Like, you dodge all that, which is kind of cool. And it does have haste, so it's not like it's nothing. But, I don't know. I'm not there. Like, getting 4 mana back feels very good, though. Because then it's almost like this sort of costs 2. And then for a total spend, realistically, of just 6 mana, you get a lot of volume from your cards. But I kind of also have to have another card that needs the mana at that point. You know what I mean? So, like, this is a mythic I'm not excited about. Now, if I could sacrifice any number of cards and get the mana for each of those, that would be great. Or even if it was like bargain up to 2 or something, then maybe. But with just 1, I'm not really feeling that too much. All right. Moving on. Looks like a couple more rares here. Red Cap Gutter Dweller. Well, if you're a Goblin fan, we have a Goblin Warrior. It's a 4 mana, 3/3 menace. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 black rat creature tokens that can't block. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on this card and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. This actually seems okay. I mean, like, you get to just make rats. Like, you play it for 4 mana, you get 5/5 worth of creatures, right? 2/1/1s, though they can't block, and you get a 3/3. Then during your upkeep, you can start sacrificing stuff and then possibly get to play an extra card and get a 1/1 on this thing. And if you have anything else that's generating tokens, sacrifice another creature. So it has to be a creature token, not just a token. But if you have anything that's generating tokens, especially ones that don't block, you could actually do some decent stuff with this. It's a little slow to get to do what it wants to do, but it's not bad. And I think there are a few goblins still left that you could do goblin things, because I feel like I worked on a goblin deck a couple weeks ago and it was just like just short, just didn't have enough quality creatures. This is the type of thing that could help fix some of that. So I'm kind of into it. I don't think it's great, don't get me wrong, but it's better than a lot of options that goblins have right now. And I think it can fit into some of those builds and at least give them a chance. Daniel says, I just realized the copied held kite wouldn't count as bargains, so I wouldn't get 8 mana. Yeah, exactly, because that dragon, you can only bargain when you cast it. So if you copy it, you don't get to bargain. Let's see. Goblins just don't have the pieces in standard. I think that's the thing, though. So I'm saying if this, and there's another goblin or two that are just playable in the set, along with all the other removal, then it becomes like a real thing. I think right now, they're just a couple of cards light, which is what I was saying. But this could help them by giving them a sizable body and a way to get extra cards, which is good. Rotisserie Elemental. And, okay, this this is the goofy type of art you expect to see in this set, right? It's literally a fire elemental, like cooking, I don't know what that is, like some type of horned bird, like goose or something. I don't know what, it's not a goose. It's something else. But literally has a rotisserie in one hand, cooking stuff on its head. Like, this is sweet artwork. 1/1 for 1, elemental with menace. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a skewer counter on it. Then you can sacrifice it. If you do, exile the top X card your library, exit the number of skewer counters on the rotisserie elemental. You can play those cards this turn. The fact that we have skewer counters is freaking hilarious. All right. So 1/1 for 1 with menace is actually playable. I think the question here, though, is I'm not sure. This is where, like, the bigger standard becomes a problem for some cards, right? Because obviously this wants to be in some type of mono red, maybe Gruul or Rakdos aggro decks, right, in the one slot. But you start looking at other things we have, right? We have the black cleric that turns into a Phyrexian guy or whatever, right? We've got the Monastery Swift Spear. You have the vampire that makes a blood token and hits for 1. We even have a goblin that if it connects, you can sacrifice it, deal damage to a thing. That's a lot. That's 4 or 5 quality 1/1s, right? And there's still like a couple more in green, right? There's the 2/1 wolf. There's the one that gets bigger every time you play a creature that's got power or toughness larger. Like, I don't know if this gets to be played for at least another year, sadly. It's a good card, but unless you have something I think that particularly cares about menace or elementals, possibly drawing cards. Well, it's not even that. You just exile the cards. So you don't even draw them, right? Yeah, so that doesn't even... Yeah, I don't think this gets played much, sadly. I don't think it's going to see much action. Patty Lady says, what? No rotation being an issue for new cards. You don't say. Yeah, absolutely. They announced back, I believe in May or June, that there will not be a standard rotation this year. Now standard's going to be 3 years. So everything that came out that is standard legal right now will remain standard legal until the next fall set. So either September, October next year. Then the stuff that point that's 3 years old will be falling off of standard, and standard will always be a 3-year rotation. So we'll just be adding 4 or 5 more sets to standard before we get to the next rotation. So for those you don't know, there you go. Now you know. But yeah, bad times for rotisserie elemental. I don't think that card's gonna see much action. So sorry, which is sad because it's a really cool card. I like the premise of it. I like the art of it, but it's I don't think it's checking enough boxes for us. Scalding Viper, colorless and a red for a 2/1 elemental snake. So if you have a snake deck, here you go. Also another elemental, so that could be a thing. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value 3 or less, this deals 1 damage to that player. Has a sorcery adventure of a colorless and a blue, steam clean. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Now, see, this is where, like, we were just talking about that mouse a while ago, right? That's 2 red, or 2 colorless, same cost. A colorless and a red for a 2/1. But this has a more likely impactful ability, I would think. And it comes with a, now, sorcery speed, mind you, but it does come with an adventure that's also useful, right? Because now bouncing a non-land permanent is a real thing, because we're going to have people putting auras on stuff, putting rolls on stuff, right? So basically resetting a card sometimes might actually be pretty good. And then you get to play a 2/1 that might just get to do 3 or 4 damage over the next turn or two. So, like, this is where I was like I said, being upset about the mouse not being a rat. It's like, at least if you made it a rat, it has more of a chance to be played. Just being a mouse, I don't know who else wants to play that card right now. Even if I cared about playing multiple spells a turn, I don't think that's the card that makes the cut. Now, I don't particularly think this will always make the cut, but this card is good enough on its own as a 2/1 for 2 that some red decks that are maybe playing heavy burn, they could be playing the 2 different creatures. Like, if you play a spell, you deal an extra damage to the opponent, right? Just you're doing that consistent damage every time your opponent's doing something. This could fit those style of decks, and you don't even care about the blue part. You know what I mean? So yeah, I now admit it, I don't think this card is going to be gangbusters. I don't think it's going to go, like, be played in every red deck, but I'm not going to be surprised if I see it with that sub theme of just like constant pinging damage for everything that happens. And we have Song of what is this? Song of Toten Trans. Like, that's okay. Don't know who Toten Trans is, but there you go. It's red X sorcery. Create X/1/1 black rat creature tokens that can't block. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Wait. Y'all, are we agreeing right now live on stream that we're just going to call this Furball? Like, seriously. Because it's basically a fireball, but we're doing it with creatures. Right? We're all on board with this, right? Everybody in favor say aye. Because, like, this is literally, it's fireball, but with creatures. Right? That's all this is. It's red, pay X. X could be like 5. You make 5 1/1 black rats, and they have haste until end of turn. Actually, all your stuff has haste, so if you have anything else that made tokens or whatever, like, this seems fine. Like, this is more than fine, actually. This is just good. Like, if I have anything that cares about tokens coming into play, anything that buffs tokens, if I already have, like, I don't know, wedding announcement that's already flipped to the backside, so now I'm making 2/2s instead of 1/1s. Like, there's a lot of things I could do with this. And I don't even need to be playing a rat deck. I could just be playing some mono red, red, white, gruel, whatever, just aggro something that cares about having a finishing card. And now I can just make a pile of things and attack. Also, cool ability, you can make like 5 or 6 things and then just split up your attacks against multiple planeswalkers even. Right? If you're at that stage of the game where you can't kill your opponent, you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to send like 3 at Liliana and 2 at the Wandering Emperor or whatever it is, right? That's a thing. So, like, this is cool. I'm on Furball with this one. Yeah, this is Furball for sure. Anything that cares about hasty things like Samut. Oh, that's cool too. Yeah, Samut. This is like 4 or 5 bonus cards. That's a good call. I'm going to make some sort of god-awful Gruul deck that builds around the green enchantments, the triple mana from basic lands and Furball. Yeah, that's possible too, right? You just get to like 20 mana and then just go ham with this thing. Yeah, this is actually really cool. This is going to be fun, a fun rat dose deck. I see what you did there. That's funny. Yeah, this is cool. I like this card. This might be one of the most fun red cards. Probably my second favorite to the dragon, actually, that we saw so far today. And let's see, do we have any other red rares we need to talk about, or mythics? We do indeed still have another one. So we've got Virtue of Courage. 3 colorless red enchantment when a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you can exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those cards this turn. And then it has an instant, a colorless, and a red to deal 2 damage to any target. This is interesting. Okay, so I think, again, this is one you could just play, right? Now, the instant part of it, the adventure, isn't great, but it's also not bad. It's 2 damage to any target, so you can shoot an opponent or a creature or a planeswalker, or, honestly, a battle, if you want to shoot that, for 2 mana at instant speed. That's actually mostly fine. But then late game, if you have any burn spell, it's just like, cool. And it's not even that you get to see a card, as for however much damage you did, you get to see that much. Yeah, because it says whenever source deals damage to an opponent, you may exile that many cards. So this is actually kind of cool. This feels better or worse than Bone Crusher. I think it's just different, right? And they may not even go into the same decks. But also, the other options, you could play this and Bone Crusher in the older formats. You know, because you're still getting the 2 damage, whatever, but Bone Crusher doesn't give you a body. However, this might be in a type of deck where you're playing a control type thing, and you're not really actually playing creatures of any kind, right? So if you are playing, like, I don't know, just making up cards here because I haven't made a deck list, obviously, but like, let's say Stentia Bloodhaul that's just like getting tokens and maybe sacrificing for damage, and you've got a couple of planeswalkers doing some damage, and you're playing sweepers like Burn Down the House or whatever, like, this is a viable card in that type of list. Because all your removal, everything else is going to be damage of some kind anyway. And then now you're just getting, once this sticks, you're just starting to steamroll, right? Hit your opponent, I get to look at 2 cards, now I get to play a thing. Actually, I just realized something else about this card. You exile that many cards, and it's not pick one, play one. You could play all of those. So if you were to play with fire your opponent, you get to look at 2 cards. You could just play both of them. Like, this is actually pretty cool. Yeah, these virtues are really good cards. They're just really good. Now, I don't know how many you play, but I think however many you decide to play is going to come down to how good the adventures are. But this could be one where you play 3 or 4, right? Because the adventure is just fine. Same thing on the black one, right? The black one, you probably go ahead because it gives something -3/-3, and you get to gain life. So yeah, you might just play 4 of those, truthfully. Yeah, these are good. All right, what do we got else? Oh, it looks like that. Looks like we hit the end of the red cards. So we're going to move on to the green cards. If you didn't know, if you just got here, we've already reviewed the others. They will be videos on the channel. If you're watching on video, be sure to check out the other colors as we review them all for the set, all the rares and mythics. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to be a member and get benefits, check all those out. And also, check out the merchandise.